Good evening and happy Wednesday to all of you out there. Welcome to another installment of the Crimson News Network, where we talk about all the anime news that has happened usually it's just within a week, but since we had not animated, we had Fictionology last week, it's been about 2 weeks since I've done one of these. Feels kind of weird to be back, but hey, there's definitely a lot to talk about tonight. So, as per the things that have actually been stated in the titles, we do have A1 to talk about. Studio A1 did not have a good financial year, which is surprising considering Solo Leveling. Lord of the Mysteries has some issues, and I've kind of discussed what they are, but there may be a root cause to it that we will be going over tonight, as per what some of the people who actually worked on the anime have said. And of course, yet again, we have people harassing, particularly, and we have another instance of the Splatoon community harassing a bunch of people, or well, harassing an artist over not using the correct skin color for a character. Plus much more, because there has been plenty that's been happening. A little bit of news about apparently a live action Akira that's been 10 years in the making. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting bit of news. But of course, we got to talk about announcements and what is upcoming. And as far as that goes, we do have 3 of particular note that I do want to go over tonight. The first of which being more of the greatest rom-com in existence, Love is War. Now, if I remember correctly, this translates to Kaguya-sama Love is War, new TV special in production, steps to adulthood. And this basically starts the stuff that happens after the first kiss that never ends. So after the movie, there's still a bunch of stuff that they got to adapt, which involves a lot of these two, from what I understand. Ino and Ishigami. Now, this is kind of funny that this comes up because I've actually recently started again watching through this series with my mother. 1, because I enjoy it, and 2, because I enjoy spending time with my mom, and she likes this series and wants to know where it goes. And every time it lives up to the hype every single time. That is how you know you got an all-timer. You got an all-timer right there. You can watch it over and over and over again. So I'm looking forward to them doing more with this story, because as much as I don't know, some of it that will come may be a bit contrived. I still enjoy this series, and I hope that they, do it strong. Also, hello, Jeremy Turner. Thank you for tuning in. And anyone who's just lurking, I do appreciate you too. The next thing to talk about that's been announced, and this is kind of old news that I think everyone has heard of, but Black Lagoon returns from its hiatus on July 18th. Now, this is a big one because this has been on hiatus for quite some time. And a lot of people have been anticipating this. I mean, Revy is still one of the big name characters of all time. So a lot of people are celebrating this. This is one that I personally have not caught up on, so perhaps I should do that and culture myself a little bit more. But I'm starting a new anime season here, and there's already a growing list of tabs of things that I got to check out the first episode on for this week. So yeah, that's a thing that'll be here around here. So personally, have no opinion on Black Clover, Black Lagoon. I will watch it at some point, just not now. The other one that I am particularly interested in is we have another manhwa adaptation of all things. Pardon me, of a series that I have actually um read a bit of, and that is Teenage Mercenary. The anime has now been announced for this one. And if you're unfamiliar with what this is about, well, Teenage Mercenary is effectively the story of this guy here on the front cover. Um, he was stranded as a child after a plane crash, and he was taken in basically by a secret like training program or whatever that then like raised him and turned him into like one of the ultimate human weapons out there. And he happens to escape and meet up with some like Korean special forces guys who end up taking him home. So he's able to reconnect with his sister, who he never really got to spend a whole lot of time with, and his grandfather. And he finds out some not so good things are going on that involve his family and decides to take action into his own hand. Effectively, the first arc is him dealing with a bunch of assholish bullies. And this isn't like the Japanese style bullying. Like there's some pretty effed up stuff going on in this one. From there, things kind of just like escalate though. The whole bullying arc doesn't really last very long. And they soon get into some corporate espionage wars. I enjoyed the series while I was reading it, but I ultimately put it down because there were other things that I wanted to read more, and I just ended up not having the time to get around to it, and it just got pigeonholed for me. But I do look forward to this anime, although given the curse on manhwa adaptations, I'm really scared that this is not going to get a good adaptation. It seems like Solo Leveling will be the only manhwa to get a good adaptation for whatever reason. And speaking of Solo Leveling, that brings us over to our first big name piece of news. A big name piece of real news. It is real news to talk about. So, A1 Pictures reports a $1.2 million loss despite Solo Leveling succeeding massively. That's that in terms of like budget and all that. I want to know how much this actually translates. And fortunately, I believe we do have. Is there a way to translate this? If I share this tab instead, is there a way to translate this to English? So let me just check some things really quick. Um, I guess not. It doesn't allow me the option to translate this one website for whatever reason. I saw it earlier. That's why I had it up here. And all of a sudden it's gone. I don't know what's changed. If I refresh this, is it going to here we go. English. All right. Okay. There. Now we've done it. Now we can read this in English and we can go over it. A1 Pictures. The fiscal year ending March 2025 falls into the red with a final loss of 178 million yen. So A1 Pictures financial reports for the fiscal year ending March 2025 showed a net loss of 178 million yen. The previous fiscal year ending March 2024 saw a profit of 24 million yen. This was revealed in the financial results announcement published in the official gazette on June 30th. The company is an anime production company under the umbrella of Aniplex. The works broadcast and released during this period are as follows: Too Many Losing Heroines, which is a good one, a real banger if you ask me, like one of the best anime of that year. Nier Automata version 1.1a, Sword Art Online Alternative, Gun Gale Online 2, Only I Level Up Season Oh, that's Solo Leveling Season 2, and Goddess of Victory Nike Old Tales Special. Okay, so the performances are as follows. Um, does it give me a breakdown of which ones are which? Unfortunately, it does not. I need to find a. I should have done this beforehand. I could pull that down. But if I had to guess, we're probably looking at some of the less popular ones, or the ones that are like IPs or whatever, being the like existing IPs for like gotcha games or whatever, being the least profitable one. I Solo leveling is massively popular. Um, I know that we definitely like uh Too Many Losing Heroines season 2 was announced quite a bit after the first season. So I'm pretty sure that that was a financial success and they decided to renew rather than getting an immediate announcement right after season 1, which usually indicates that this was pre-planned and that they were already in agreement to do these number of series or seasons. Either way. Um it's interesting to see because I would like to know particularly what like kind of like operating costs that they're working on. Hmm. It's kind of hard to tell though because I can't find a way to get an English version of this. I should have double checked. Um, okay. Oh, I guess Aniplex A1 Pictures. This could be interesting. Let's see what they got here. I guess not. Oh well. Either way, it's very interesting to see that in spite of having several good anime, um, the studio is still losing money. Which begs the question of where is that money going? I do know that there are some wild issues with monetization of anime. I know that a lot of the publishers actually hold the rights to merch and stuff rather than the studios. So it's very interesting to me that they basically had one of the biggest anime of the last few years with Solo Leveling, and they still managed to go negative by 178 million yen, $1.2 million. That may require a little bit more research on my part, so I will continue to look into that, um, and hopefully see if there is more information I can provide in the next installment of Crimson News Network. But right now, I don't want to sit here and have you guys watch me silently try and Google things and look this up because that will be very boring. Um, let's bring this back up on stage and continue to talk about this. So, Lord of the Mysteries debuted last week. And if I'm being entirely honest, the first episode does a terrible job of onboarding people. It is insanely hard to watch because it feels like you're missing boatloads of context and supporting information that are critical to understand how the story is flowing. And I made a comment on this, and someone decided to give me a like 2,000 word essay about what exactly is happening in Lord of the Mysteries in the first episode, even though I said that I understood it after the second watch through, which no series should require a second watch through. Okay. That shouldn't be a thing. Let's make this a little bit bigger so people can view this more clearly while I comment on it. Okay. Um, so here we have the Lord of the Mysteries fan account. So as is clear from the comments made by the boss and the studio staff, no one is satisfied with the pacing in the first three episodes of Lord of the Mysteries. And this may be the root cause of why everything feels so chaotic in the first episode. The second episode feels better. It's a little bit more clear. But the first episode becomes terribly hard to follow because there's a lot of things happening that just aren't explained well or given context well for the viewer. However, they were forced into this due to a contract that required them to adapt the clown fight within those first three episodes. It was mainly because Tencent and its specific contractual terms, as many fans in China have pointed out. Tencent showed no concern for proper pacing. Their only priority was to showcase the clown fight by episode 3. That's why the director stated that the pacing will slow down, and the boss specifically praised episode 4 and beyond as being much better than the first 3 episodes. So here we have some screenshots. The boss of BC May commented on Lord of the Mysteries episodes. The script is an art bound by specific requirements. And ending the clown fight in episode 3 was a hard mandate. This aligns with the widely accepted 3-episode rule that viewers use to judge anime slash donghua. Naturally, there are some regrets about the first 3 episodes. Painful compromises had to be made. Personally, I'm more satisfied with episode 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. In terms of difficulty, episode 1 was by far the hardest. I have to say something. There's so much I wanted to say, but I ended up swallowing it back. All in all, the team is amazing, and each episode feels more solid than the last. If it continues to improve on what it's done, this will probably do pretty well. But here we also have a little bit more context of how many chapters were adapted in each and every episode so far. So episode 1 ends at chapter 14 of the novel. That's quite a bit of information. Episode 2 ends at chapter 44. So from 14 to 30 episodes. 14 in the first one, 30 episodes in the second one, and then we have another 30 episodes or 30 chapters in the next episode after that. This does genuinely feel like a bit of a clusterfuck of a way to do things. Not a good decision, if you ask me, on the part of Tencent. Because if you're trying to sell this anime, you want people to generally pay attention. Now, this does have a score somewhere in the 9s, and I guarantee you that's because the animation is good. And do not doubt me when I say that the animation for this one is fantastic. It's really well done. But if I'm going to sit through something that feels like it's being crammed and can't really be thoroughly understood with one watch, like if you can't come to a clear understanding of what's going on with one watch of a series, you're either dumb or the series is just poorly done. And I will not knock the novels because a lot of people seem to really like this one, but this first episode is kind of a disaster in terms of anime. Specifically because it's hard to watch and keep track of. The pacing's terrible. There's so much happening that just isn't really explained well. They don't give good context to anything that's going on. And I, as a viewer, was left to be like, what did I even just watch? Yes, exactly. It is very much, was I supposed to know what was happening? That is the same feeling I got, and a lot of people have talked about that, is there's so much that, like, they're trying to do in these first 2 episodes that it feels like, am I supposed to know what's going on? A good mystery at least keeps you in the loop. This one did not do a good job of keeping people in the loop. And that is Lord of the Mysteries' biggest downfall. This probably could have been a really, really, really good anime if Tencent hadn't been enforcing the 3 episode rule on the studio. Pacing probably could have been a lot better. They could have taken some time to onboard people and actually show them what's going on and get them used to the world before lobbing mountains of information at them. And yeah, I'm still going to continue watching the series because I'm being told that it will get better and better. But I will continue to criticize its onboarding process because that could be a huge turnoff to a lot of people. But that's about all I can really say about Lord of the Mysteries. We've got other, like, plenty of other subjects to get into here, so we're going to talk a little bit about. This is the third of my title um, topics, and the rest are all going to be various smaller things to talk about and eventually wind down the night. I did end up culling a lot of things that just weren't super interesting to talk about tonight, but that's okay. Got this. Let's go here. So I have covered subjects like this before, quite a bit actually. And I've just taken to calling these things generally just the art wars sort of stuff. Um, And if you're unfamiliar basically with what's going on, is there's this huge wild debate. And it didn't really start with the Dandadan fandom stuff. Hello, Arceus. It didn't really start with the Dandadan fandom stuff, but it kind of blew up around there. Where there's this huge prevailing debate within, like, fan art communities over um, what is and isn't acceptable to draw. So, in my personal opinion, I don't care if people make black edits of characters. I couldn't give less of a shit about that kind of stuff, okay? It's much the same to me as, like, a black dude cosplaying Superman. I'm really not interested in telling someone they can or can't do something because of their race. So it wasn't so much the fact, when it came to Dandadan, it wasn't so much the fact that the artist in question was drawing black versions of Momo and Okarun. It was how a lot of people responded to it, and generally the blatant hypocrisy surrounding this, because this isn't the first time that someone has gotten bullied over Splatoon. Not just that, bullied off the internet over Splatoon. This happened a while back with Bukubu. Um, they drew a character that just, people for some reason were super upset with them for not drawing it dark enough. You can have a problem with it, but I think it's ridiculous. It's artwork. It's not official. Who gives a fuck? I'm sorry. So this is where we all started. So unfortunately, the artist has, closed down their account, so we can no longer see the original post. Fortunately, someone else saved it. So this person here is Japanese artist. When I throw a color palette at them, we are not doing this again. acting like they're constantly being. This is something I hate about Twitter is a lot of these people who will go in and start talking about art like this. Um, well, the tracing is something completely different. And I talked about that when I covered it, but we'll get into that. So, this is the original artwork that people were upset about. And you can see the original character here and how the character was portrayed. And this person here decided to go into detail, talking about how the creator was using a desaturated color palette. And this is a consistent thing, like I've said, where if you don't draw things the correct way, um, remember this? Does anyone remember when Horikoshi himself drew Mirko and people were upset because it was the wrong color? I can't be the only one who finds it intensely like racially motivated when you get stuff like this happening. So let's go back to this. Y'all are acting stupid. This artist is using all desaturated colors. And when you fucking put the saturation all the way up, surprise, surprise, it's brown. A bit of research on color could have prevented this. Fuck everyone who harassed this artist. And now I take a very hard stance of anti harassment on the internet. I do not see any reason to treat the internet as anything different than real life. Okay? Because in the end of the day, you should just assume that you're dealing with a real person on the other end of that keyboard. And if that's the case, then you should treat them the exact same way you would treat them to their face. So I don't support sending harassment at anyone who's involved in any of this, okay? I want that to be clear. Regardless of what side they're on, I do not see any reason to send hate or harassment to them. That's evil. That's awful. Don't fucking do it. But at the same time, the bullshit has to be called out. If it is okay to change the color of a character's skin to a darker shade just because you want to, then the opposite is also okay. I don't care about your rigmarole arguments. It is basic logic. If doing it one way is okay, should be okay to do it the other way as well. I personally don't really care for the changes because I either like the original character or not. Okay? It's as simple as that. I either like Superman or not. I either like Batman or not. I either like Okarun or not. And insofar as the black edits go, like if you're drawing your own original thing, I don't see why that's any different than saying taking Okarun, like drawing Okarun as a black kid is no different to me than drawing Okarun in a cyberpunk sort of aesthetic. You've changed the aesthetic. Oh no, you've changed the character. I feel like it's bullshit to be up in arms over just that. In the case of the original Don the Don one, that's sort of like sparked this recurring thing where people have started to call this out now. We did have an artist who was legitimately tracing other people's works, who was legitimately tracing screenshots of the anime, and then just doing some minor skin tone changes and doodling over the hair a little bit. That was frankly pretty lazy. And it's unfortunate again that AJ Beckles got harassed over all that because he's a good voice actor. Like he's one of the better dub voice actors out there. And this is it annoys me that this is constantly a thing where people feel they are entitled to have their cake and eat it too. You have a faction of Twitter who are constantly upset with anyone who doesn't draw I'm constantly upset with people who are. I do not like, I should say, the people who are constantly upset over everyone who doesn't draw the character with the exact same skin tone that I expected. It's not dark and shut the fuck up. Okay. At the same time, anyone who uses that as an excuse to go harass people, or as I saw in the comments of many of these posts, start spamming racial slurs, you're just as fucking shitty, okay? You're just as awful. I really, I just, it's one of the most inane, stupid, worthless arguments that has come up out of the internet. I'm kidding, by the way. I just hate the assholes that make it seem like the skin tone changes are amazing art. In some cases, I will respect their creative ability, but it's not like changing the skin color of a character is something praiseworthy. I think that's bullshit in and of itself. This whole debate is brought about by a long history of people harassing artists for not doing or for not drawing characters dark enough. It was around the time of Dandadan with the whole Bukubu thing that people just snapped and decided to start pointing out the hypocrisy of it all. And that was where all the Ryan Gosling Black Panther things started coming up. The white edits of characters and all that, which are equally fucking cringe, by the way. It's stupid. Um, AJ did the profile change to support the artist without knowing more of the situation. That's where he fucked up. I still don't think the harassment he got for it was deserved. Like, I think a lot of people have overreacted to this because it's been so prevalent on Twitter, where people will start doing like fixes and all that and like complaining about everyone else's art and like doing all this bullshit and all that. It's a meme and it happens quite a bit. A lot of people have talked about this. I am not the first, nor will I probably be the last to talk about stuff like this. But my point in all of this is that it should be a non issue. Whether someone draws a Splatoon character a shade too light, or whether someone draws a Dandanon character a shade too dark, it should not matter. We should not be picking nits over stuff like this because there are bigger issues to deal with than complaining about how someone drew a character that you like. If your whole identity is attached to a character and how they're depicted, and you suddenly feel robbed of that character because someone drew an art of it that you didn't like, I think you need to get your head checked. You are mentally unstable, and you probably, I don't know, you're probably not in the best place mentally. But we're breaking into some odd territory. And unfortunately for us, though, this person decided to post a video talking about some of this stuff. All right. And that gives us something to watch and go over in regards to this stuff. So here we go. We have blackwashing doesn't exist, why black edits aren't racist. And I haven't watched this video, but I saw it and I was like, okay, let's see where we go with it.
Do you want to hear like stuff about like racism and hypocrisy and like fake gotcha moments? Cosmo, bro, do you care like at all?
I remember a while ago when I was talking to a group of friends, I posted this Black Ryoko edit from the Your Favorite Dark Skin Twitter account. And there was one friend out of the group who took it upon themselves to post an edit of White Garnet and proceeded to say how it works both ways and how this Garnet looks better than this. I ain't capping, this is what he said. Like, he would just be contrarian for no other reason than to start shit. He was capping out of his ass. And obviously he was wrong, but I didn't exactly feel like telling him why. Well, if you're watching this right now, nigga, I got time today. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. All right, new story time. So the other day I opened Twitter, obviously never a good idea, and I saw a user getting their ass beaten in quote tweets for posting this image and many others liking on their account. And these are obviously bait. Some of you couldn't assume I have common sense and decided to tell me I fell for the bait when responding, when all I did was say, ew. No shit, it's bait. They want attention and I decided to make fun of them for Twitter likes. But clearly what they did here was turn loose from the house, the brown-skinned Dominican American, into a flavorless, undercooked, for lack of a better word, lint leech. Nigga, get the fuck up, my...
Interesting. Okay.
Not only did they do it to fuck with people, they did it to prove a point. A point I see so many times that I'm here to dismantle and disprove. In multiple tweets, they expressed how black people aren't oppressed and that racism works both ways. Clearly, from those statements alone, this wasn't made for shits and giggles and to make niggas mad. The nigga in question did this with reasoning
I probably should be careful there. Oops.
behind it. And I want you to take a look at these two edits. Although at their basic objective core, both characters having their race being altered in an edit, they aren't the same. And they ain't comparable for multiple reasons. These images are not the same. And I'm gonna explain why. And you probably guessed, but I'm gonna get into that right now. But before that, we got a word from our sponsor.
Fuck your sponsor.
Month is the month that the art community calls Blacktober. A lot of you non-social media niggas probably are unaware as to what that is, so allow me. Black artists and editors have started to draw themselves into the things that they love. And by that I mean drawing them as black or their faves as black. A lot of people obviously did not like that, and with that came a lot of harassment thrown at said artists and editors. Blacktober is a month-long prompt thing that was created to combat all the hate and malice with fun. And people have a problem with this whole movement because they think it's racist and say it's blackwashing, seeing as people truly believe other people are canonically changing the races of these characters, or at least
Again, I agree with some of his points, but where he's coming from, he's basically ignoring that this street has gone both ways, where people have basically sat there and harassed each other both ways over this bullshit. I think it is completely irrelevant.
least trying to. In an attempt to try to educate the people who were making these edits, people decided to do the exact opposite to prove a point. But like I said earlier, these two images aren't the same and never will be. Now it's time for me to explain that. Although I think I'll get a little more comfortable first. I'm saying I'm going to do the cool green screen thing again because I like doing it and it's cool and it's time effective. Yeah. First off, one was created positively, as you can see from the quality of the edit, while the other was created in retaliation of the other. Now, you might say, why does that even matter? Well, here's a comparison.
Again, black edits do get made in retaliation a lot of the time. It goes both ways. You're still not addressing the fact that, well, I will say your side does the exact same thing. And it happens quite a bit with artists coming in and going, not dark enough, and then doing the art fix thing, especially, like I said, with Horikoshi. They did it to Kohei Horikoshi over his own series.
There's this teeny little organization, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Black Lives Matter. And then there's All Lives Matter. People who say ALM opposed to BLM or supporting a movement that was made in retaliation of a movement made for the support and giving of voices to black people. A movement solely made for us to be treated as equal. Both still movements at their core, but one movement is in retaliation of the other. To simplify things, say we're on a playground, right? We're also kids, we're not weirdos. And so there's a kid who falls down and he breaks his leg. And so he's asking everybody, somebody call help, my fucking leg is broken, oh my God. And then there's another kid who's on the playground who's not hurt, who's like, well, what about my leg? Diverging the attention from the root problem, the kid with the broken leg. Also in the scenario, the kid with the not broken leg talking about what about his leg is really popular. He's really popular. He's always been popular for like forever. And the one time when an issue or a subject is not about him, he's trying to make it about himself. Do you see how that's fucked? If you don't get that, I think this video isn't for you. I really don't want to follow deaf ears. You probably should go like right now. All right, now let's bring it back. I talked about this before conveniently in the video right before this one, but black edits exist primarily because of the lack of representation of black animated characters in animated media. And if you say, we got plenty of representation, Stop the cap. Most of the mainstream anime that are out and talked about right now don't feature accurate black representation or black.
Gee, I wonder why. It's almost like Japanese media. You're complaining about not enough black people in anime? This is an entitled. This is effectively entitlement, okay? If you're going to complain about not enough black people in Japanese media, well, guess what? The Japanese make a lot of this stuff for the Japanese. Your whole argument is hinged on the idea that you deserve to be represented equally in everything. Well, guess what? A lot of these characters, they're not white either. They're Asian. Yuji Itadori is not a white name. That is a Japanese-ass name. And this is where, like, these sorts of arguments are ridiculous, is because you don't get to be part of everything, okay? You want to make a story about, like, Chicago or whatever? Cool. It makes sense to have a more diverse cast, okay? Cool. But you're effectively complaining that a largely Japanese nation is largely Japanese, and that you aren't part of their stories. I don't know. That seems a little entitled to me.
Black representation at all. And trust me, we're thankful for what we're getting right now, but that's now. For decades, we were getting this for nothing. Side note, I don't ever think that Killer Bee's a racist caricature. I think he's cool as fuck, and that's my nigga right there. Some people just don't get it. He's just icy, all right? He icy. That nigga threw them hands on Sasuke. But because of this lack of characters in our race, we had to latch on to characters that weren't even representative of our own race. Therefore, over the years, we made headcanons and AUs of these characters where they are black. Notice I said the headcanon and AU. Contrary to popular belief, we don't actually believe these characters are black. I know Piccolo's a fucking Namekian. Everyone knows Piccolo's a Namekian. We just like to think, what if? I mean, I know he ain't, but like, what are these, bro? These are do-rags. Gohan and Piccolo are swimming, you.
Hey, JM, how you doing? Thank you. I do appreciate the comment on the hat. It is my Murica hat. So, to address this whole thing is, if you're looking for, like, racial representation in a character, I feel like, again, you're looking for the wrong thing. I don't like characters because they represent the straight white dude. I like characters because they represent something deeper. And again, a lot of people do treat Piccolo as black. His point about it being headcanon, yeah, that's effectively why I say his point about the headcanon, I do agree with. That's effectively why I say it is a non-issue, okay? It's fucking stupid to be up in arms about someone drawing a character a different race, okay? People wouldn't complain if you drew an alien as a human or anything. Ooh, Metatron has a video on this. That could be cool sometime. Maybe we'll make time for that next week where we go over Metatron's take on this and see what he has to say. Because I have been watching a lot of his stuff. He's pretty fucking cool. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about this guy's opinion on things. As I am a doppelganger for Lloyd Forger and have my trade representatives in Handyman Saito, I am overrepresented in Japanese media. Exactly. Like, I can identify with Handyman Saito because guess what? That's my line of work as well. And he's a dude who does that stuff. It has nothing to do with his fucking race. I like Ogun as a character because he's one of the coolest characters in Fire Force. It has nothing to do with his race. He just has a cool fucking power. But I digress. We'll continue with this video. I do need to add some commentary in here, though, so it's at least fair use, and I'm actually talking. His points about it not being a problem, I do agree, but I don't think it should be a problem either way. I think anyone who's doing it out of a sense of harassment or spite is a shitlord, But he completely ignores that this street goes both ways and people do this kind of stuff all the time. Like everyone's fucking biting at each other's ankles over who gets to do what and everything should be okay. You know what? Again, I go back to cosplay. I'm not going to throw a bitch fit over a dude who's not white cosplaying Captain America or Superman or Batman. They like those characters. They want to dress up as those characters. They should be allowed to be those characters. They are doing it in an unofficial capacity. Who gives a shit?
You cannot tell me otherwise.
Shit, headcanoning shouldn't even be that much of a problem. I've seen people do a lot more outside of race. Some niggas headcanon characters into completely new, different characters. I'm calling y'all out. Y'all motherfuckers will headcanon a character that's nothing like you and then make that nigga just like you, which changes their character entirely. Don't worry, it's okay though. I just know. Remember that one bigot dickhead cop from Detroit Become Human? Niggas made him the partner of the new Connor and also like a tsundere love interest. This is a bigot. This is a robo-racist who probably is homophobic. What were y'all doing? Anyways, people love calling this blackwashing, but that's not a thing, like, at all. It does not exist. First off, again, this is just...
It actually does exist in Western media. It just doesn't exist in Japanese media. That's the thing. Is a lot of people seem to, fucking misunderstand. I mean, look at how many redheads have been replaced. I'll leave it at that.
It's an example of someone making something in retaliation of something else. Blackwashing? That doesn't even sound right. It was obviously derived from the term whitewashing, which, if you did know, is the changing of a character's race from something ethnic and flavorless to white. And that's just not good for nobody. And obviously now the meaning has been updated to accommodate for the coloring of a darker skinned character lighter than what they're supposed to be, which is also not good for nobody. I got a confession, y'all niggas say I never missed any harder than this video. This video is almost 2-3 years old, but if I did miss the point more harder, I wouldn't know what this was. Obviously you can tell from the thumbnail I was saying that nobody was whitewashing Nessa, which is wrong. That's not right at all. People were drawing her light as fuck for no reason. And I completely missed the point about the erasure of dark skin representation and how that's no good for nobody. Live and learn. Sometimes you have good friends that teach you. Love you, Thuman. Now, some of you probably think you got me in a little gotcha moment. Oh, you caught my ass red-handed, caught in 4K. You didn't. Settle down. You're predictable. And I know what you're going to say. Well, white characters are getting recasted as non-white people more and more these days. And you'd probably call a black person playing a role originally casted as a white person blackwashing as you would for these edits. What the difference between a black person playing a role originally a white person did and a white person playing a role originally a black person did is reasoning and erasure. No matter how many originally white roles taken by non-black people happen, they're still going to be the dominant party in representation and in real life, like they have been for centuries. But if you take
Entitlement bullshit yet again. It's okay when I do it, but not because I am oppressed versus being like canonically accurate to the character. This is
take the role from a black person or from another person of color, you are comparatively taking what little representation we have in the first place. And when it comes for reasoning, you have to think, is there a reason why this character is white in the first place? Probably not. They're just white. The story has nothing to do with them being white. But most of the time, black roles are made for black people to tell black stories or to tell stories that black people need to be in.
Hold up. So there's no reason for the character to be white, but there's always a reason for the character to be black. Yeah, bullshit. Let's just go with, okay, let's talk about this one. Do you guys remember that Cleopatra documentary where they started talking about how Cleopatra was actually black and all that? We actually have a reason for Cleopatra to be white, and it's because we know her lineage. We know what family she came from. He's effectively just complaining that in all of this that black people deserve the representation, which I don't care whether you want to make black characters or not, okay? Make a good character. That's all I care about. Like I said, Ogun's sick as fuck, okay? The Falcon was actually an awesome character, one that I really liked before he became Captain America. Because now he's just a derivative of Steve Rogers and he's never going to live up to the same thing. And if your argument is that black edits are black characters are meant to, like actually represent us and tell our stories, then why are you going in and taking white or Asian characters and turning them to another race? Because they don't represent your story or anything. There's no reason to it other than, oh, well, I feel like it and it makes me happy.
Whenever a black edit is made and posted, in the replies, I see this infamous and, not gonna lie, kind of funny picture of a white Black Panther. And this image essentially is the whole "but what if the roles were reversed" card, and essentially is a physical representation of niggas missing the point. If you want them reversed so bad, how about you go through 200 years of slavery, decades of segregation, years of systematic oppression, gentrification, and mass incarceration and imprisonment. If not, shut the fuck up talking to me. Otherwise, the roles cannot be reversed. And if
This guy doesn't really look like he's been. Oh, I should have had this up here. I'm sorry. My bad.
your rebuttal is get over slavery, everything's not about race. No, everything is about race, and everything will always be about race. Shut the fuck up talking to me. Shut up. Lower your tone like shit. Black Panther is a character made for black people that has cultural significance. Do white people have like a cultural superhero? If you say Captain America, I'm teleporting to your house and knocking the piss out you. Thing is, people bring up the counter argument, well, why don't you make your own characters instead of changing the race of existing ones? And to clarify, number one, again, we aren't changing the races of these characters. These are headcanons and AUs. And number two, that's valid. I mean, if not for the fact that you can do both of those things at the same time, well, it's not hurting anyone because these edits hurt literally no one. It isn't like these characters are being officially recast or retconned as black.
Again, I do agree with this point, but we can point to actual places where there are legitimate reasons to say that a character is a thing. And I mean, they changed it anyway. If there's no point in the character being white, there was also no point in the character being changed to black other than you feel like you're entitled to it. Like Jet Black. How more on the nose can you get with that? The original character was not a black dude, but they threw it in there just because they could. There was no point in the change other than you wanted to feel satisfied about yourself because you can't see anything outside of your race. That's bullshit.
Black ones. They're just edits, and they're not bad ones either. The counters are usually crude, bad looking, crusty, ugly. And that's because the messages behind these two are very different. One's clearly positive and with love, while the other is within malice or it comes off as combative and misses the point.
Yeah, but these edits, ain't thought you wait. Give me that fucking plate. It's also funny someone made a Nagatoro edit like this, but like she's not black. We do not claim y'all tan line light skins. Please stay away.
Now I can lie to you and say that I got bored of doing the green screen thing, or I can say my internet has been out for about a month and I've been staying and recording at a friend's house. Either way, I guess we'll be back after these messages. Follow my Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to Don Bad Boys, the group channel that me and my friends are a part of. It's cool and swag.
Another problem you'll hear people bring up is the whole fixing terminology. What I'm referring to is when some people will do one of these edits or drawings, they refer to it as fixing it. And I ain't gonna cap, this is flawed on both sides. On one side, you have some people actually seeing this as fixed or but better, which obviously pushes the narrative that that is what everyone thinks. And on the other,
Well, at least he's willing to acknowledge that much.
you have people assuming that everyone who makes these edits carries that same mindset, which is assuming that every black person is trying to quote unquote fix these existing characters by turning them black. And yeah, no, if you're a part of the minority that unironically thinks this, while putting down their often not white race, that's not right. But assuming everyone else is carrying this mindset too is also wrong. Like I said, people don't think they're changing their race. They're making their own headcanons. And while that does not cover the small minority we don't claim, it does give the other side another thing to use against us as a whole. And fixing art, oh my God. Obviously, the whole fixing thing is just never good to do at all. Through the whole whitewashing Nessa situation, you had people doing what they called fixing art of Nessa. That was whitewashed by while making it darker, which only really muddied the waters of who was in the right and who was in the
This is again, he's like, I wouldn't even call that white. It's just a different color palette, and people didn't like it. Again, we'll continue to talk about this. Like, since the posting of this video, there have been multiple instances where people have done nothing wrong and been harassed because everyone perceived it as whitewashing. Again, I bring up none other than Horikoshi himself. But I digress.
wrong in a situation. Almost all of the people who are on the side of advocating for coloring Nessa with completely dark skin did not find it okay to do this to someone's art. And neither do I. No matter the circumstance, you should never ever edit someone's art. And if I hear you call me a hypocrite because you're comparing someone's fan art to studio, like official art, shut the fuck up talking to me. What you should do is just let them know that they can't color dark skin right, and they maybe should learn how to. Because you'll be surprised how many people can't and how many people try to weasel their way out of it. Oh, dark skin isn't just part of my pastel ooh art style. Ever seen a chocolate cake nigga? It go together. Miss me with that Tim Burton black people don't fit in my aesthetic bullshit. You just a lazy ass. It's so obvious how people cannot or do not ever try to color dark skin, and that for sure is because of a lack of dark skin representation in media, which is why people make their own to feel better. I don't know if you can see the correlation, but all of this is connected. I'm not just putting these things together that don't make sense to make it make sense. These are all correlated. This is just another clear as day example of why representation matters. If people saw more brown or dark skin representation on the TV, you see it more in people's art because it be normalized. A lot of y'all forget this stuff is taught, and people keep the same beliefs not because they're right, but because the same beliefs are being taught to kids. I mean, it's just unfortunate that this is an issue that not a lot of people know or care about. Unfortunately, not every anime wants to be Fire Force or cares about black people, but like it or not, a lot of black people consume anime, and black people, just as other minority groups, consume media just as much as white people. Dark-skinned niggas look at the same shit light-skinned niggas.
He doesn't even talk about the fact that a lot of those characters are Asian. He's completely ignoring the point. He's just lumping in Asians with whites.
Do. So why exactly aren't they in the shed? I know to a lot of people representation isn't really a big issue because they don't care, but it is.
With the lack of it, people take it into their own hands by making their own in different ways. Just how, say, if you're watching a cartoon and they so happen to not have your personality represented, you just might write a self-insert or headcanon one of the characters to be like you. A lot of us do the same, but with our racial identity. Now,
do we? Or do most people enjoy a show for what it is and know that maybe not everything is centered around them? I don't ever find myself headcanoning myself into a story. I'm sorry. I don't think that's a thing that people actually do. I'm not to the point where I feel like I need to be a part of every story. A lot of times I'm just there for being there to be along for the ride.
obviously, I'm thankful for all the new stuff we got right now. It's great. But as for the edits, I understand them. And I think they're pretty neat. I think you should too. They're made with love. These ones aren't. Bruh, that's what I call representation. Psych! See, this is why I've been with Naruto and Tenchi Muyo since day one. See this nigga? Me for real. See this nigga? Me for real. See this nigga Kaz Khan? Me for real on a stack, bruh. That's what I call representation, baby. Give me more of that, please. Also, a good amount of y'all thought these were fine, so we ain't gonna let that slide. I ain't forget that shit. For clarification, I don't exactly care or are offended by these edits, but if you don't have a problem with these, but have a problem with these, that's a problem in itself. Oh, let's use black features for comedy, but when they want to do it for sincerity, there's a problem. Yeah, I ain't forget.
Okay, that was about as retarded as I thought, and it can effectively be boiled down to this dude genuinely believes that the world should revolve around him, is what I'm getting from this. He feels like he needs to be a part of every freaking story, otherwise he doesn't care. And I said this a while ago in a video. Isn't that kind of a narcissistic way to go about life? Like, if I went to every series and was like, well, I don't see myself in it, therefore I don't want to watch it, you would start to think that, hey, maybe you're watching for the wrong reason. And it's kind of the same mentality around the idea of, well, I need to be a part of this, therefore I'm going to make my own representation. I don't care, like I've said multiple times, whether people make black edits or what. It's irrelevant to me. I think too many people are freaking out about an irrelevant issue. And all the people who are like, out there getting their fucking panties in a twist over like some of these, well, they're erasing Japanese culture and all that. Just fuck off. The whole situation, basically, to sum this up, is you have one side who feels that they're entitled to being a part of everything just because they exist, which is weird because Japanese media isn't meant to represent everyone. It's largely meant to represent Japanese people. And one of the characters that I identify with the most is not a white dude. But of course, Asians are all white because they look close enough, right? That whole video has the glaring flaw of just overlooking the fact that a lot that anime characters generally aren't white. It overlooks the fact that Japan values fair skin because it's a sign of status and high rank, which in and of itself is a, topical debate, but that's just the thing is a lot of people are portrayed certain ways because that's what Japan likes and they make things for Japan, not for the rest of the world. But I digress because apparently everyone wants to make things about themselves. So let's move on with the night and continue doing this stuff. My whole point in all of that was basically you're not entitled to the representation just because you exist. You're not entitled to be a part of every single story just because you exist. You can do your own headcanoning and whatever if you want. If you're going to do a role play server on Discord or whatever, go ahead, feel free. You're not doing anything in an official capacity. It doesn't affect me. It's not my problem. Go have your fun, okay? I think we'd all be in agreement on that. But your entire point, honestly, came across as I'm entitled to do my own thing, therefore, or sorry, I'm entitled to be a part of your thing, therefore, you should put me in it. I'm moving off of that subject. Taika Waititi's live-action Akira officially dead. Warner Bros. Gives film rights back to original manga publisher Kodansha. So after 20 plus years, I said 10 earlier, after 20 plus years in development hell and the threat of its story being brought to life under the direction of Taika Waititi, Warner Bros. Attempt at a live-action adaptation of Katsuhiro Otomo's seminal manga Akira has officially been relegated to the trash bin of Hollywood. Confirmation of the long-stalled project's cancellation was brought to the public attention courtesy of the Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt, who on June 27th reported that not only had Warner Bros. Let go of the movie rights, but that they had also subsequently reverted back to the Japanese publishing company Kodansha, whose Young Seinen manga magazine played host to Akira's original run. Further, Kit claimed that producers and talent are said to be lining up to attach themselves to the property in preparation for to be presented to other studios and streamers, but did not provide any details as to the possibilities of those involved in this supposed bidding war. I do not think Akira really has a good place as a live action. I think it should just remain what it is. But I'm kind of glad that this one went away. I just wish a lot of these live actions would stop because a lot of times they just kind of suck. It's as simple as that. And I do not trust a Western studio to make a good version of this story. The movie and the manga themselves are good enough. We'll leave it at that. But that said, let's move on along. So there is an interesting development, and this is one that we'll comment on very quickly because I don't really need to get into like deep live action stuff. We're over the hour mark now. We're going to wrap this up and go home, okay? So let's go with this. So Atsumi Tanizaki, the voice of Frieren, Anya, and many other popular characters, will be limiting her activities due to a recent decline in health, as her agency is prioritizing her recovery. Now, on the surface, this seems like a oh well, this maybe they care about her health. This could though be a case of perhaps it's just so bad they can't ignore it. But with no confirmation as to which way it goes, all we can say is I hope that she recovers and is able to take on some of these more popular roles, particularly for Frieren. Could be kind of weird to have the voice change in the middle of it, but I digress. So Godspeed to your recovery. Hope it's quick. Hope nothing too terribly bad is happening. The next thing on the list, as far as like our wrap ups go, would be the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You was officially awarded a Guinness World Record for Rentero's love speech from season 2. So, here we go. Rentaro and the 100 Girlfriends anime officially certified by Guinness World Record for longest monologue in Japanese animation. Live action lead Battle Angel, but I don't know if they're going to do or go into the whole transhumanism. I haven't seen the live action Alita Battle Angel. I forget that one exists. So in episode 24, the final season, or the final episode of season 2, the protagonist Renter Hyder delivered a speech which totaled 7,453 Japanese characters, in which he described what he loves about each of his 100 girlfriends. The scene adapted a well-known moment in the original manga and was animated in full for the show's finale. The voice actor Wataru Kato, who played Rentaro, was presented with the official Guinness World Record certificate at a ceremony held in on June 25th, 2025. You can watch the video below of him being presented with the award. This is just funny because this whole line in and of itself was pretty freaking funny. The whole delivery was pretty good, I should say. So this was kind of one of the things that everyone talked about. They were obsessed with about this last season, and it's a fun little fact that it now holds the record for the longest Japanese monologue in animation. Kind of niche thing, but hey, it is what it is. Speaking of niche things, how about this figurine? Something that came across my my feed that I suddenly feel the desire to get because I have a thing for Frieren. I won't lie to you. All right. And that's literally all I have left for the night. That was it. So hopefully next week I can get some more information on the A1 Pictures thing. I do want to talk about that. I'm really sick and tired of all the like debate centered around people's artwork and all that and the obsession with it. I think it's purely retarded, like all the way through. There is no need to be so obsessed with the race of artwork and everything that you start throwing a bitch fit about it. At the same time, I don't really see why you need to like constantly talk about your race and everything. I don't see why it has to do everything with it unless you're wallowing in your own pity, acting like that's what's going to keep you down, or why. Sorry. I forget that there is supposed to be a no politics sort of rule on this channel sometimes, and that there are certain things I don't cover because specifically I don't like to divide people or like seem or like be a point of controversy or like whatever. I just like to talk about anime and things that I find are relevant and pertinent to it. It's all bullshit, man. It's all bullshit. Anyway, thank you all for joining in and being a part of the stream. I do appreciate it. Remember not to be an asshole to people you disagree with because, well, being an asshole is wrong. And I will see you probably later this week when I post my next video. And of course, the beginning of summer anime live streams on Animated on Saturday night. I hope you're there. Otherwise, you can follow me at Twitter, on Twitter at Crimson Lawson. I'm there. And I hope that those of you who are in America here with me have a good day. Have a great America Day this Friday. Yeehaw, bitches.